Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm a guy called Joe, and this is Bootstrapping Tools Community Support, where we help scrappy bootstrappers and entrepreneurs just like you figure out how to overcome some of the hurdles that they're facing with the applications that they're using. Now, before we dive into today's episode, make sure to check out our YouTube channel for all the other videos that we have where we've helped other people with some of their issues, as well as created some guides, tutorials, and how-tos on various different applications out there that can help you be more efficient and more productive in your bootstrapping career or entrepreneurship, or if you just want to impress some of your colleagues or your employers. So today we're actually going to be focused on this post within the Sheets subreddit. This actually has to do with Google Apps scripts, but they posted it in the R Sheets subreddit. But regardless, I thought it was interesting because what OP is trying to do here is to trigger an email send based on an edit for a very specific cell in their Google spreadsheet, but also making sure that it's a change to that value, whether it's bigger or smaller, it doesn't matter. As long as it's changed, he wants to get an email triggered. So we have to actually check to make sure that the previous value is actually different from whatever the value is today. So I think they're actually doing this thing with the import JSON script that they wrote separately, and that one actually repopulates the entire spreadsheet. So they just want to make sure that a specific cell, I think it's E4 here, actually changed from whatever it was previously. So it's actually kind of cool. We're going to be going through a couple of different concepts, including the Mail app or the Gmail app. I think they're actually using the Mail app, so we'll use that one. But we're also going to go through some if-else statements, and then we're also going to be using the script properties feature that comes with Google Apps Scripts, and finally also the on-edit feature that you can get through the scheduler that Google provides. Now let's dive into it actually. So I have on the screen as much as I could kind of gather from the post is just D for month sales, and then E is the value, and they're taking a look at E4 to make sure did it change or did it not change. And then they named their tab Dashboard 2021. So diving into the code over here, this is actually what they posted. I just formatted it a little better so it's easier to read. So what they do is they're fetching their monthly sales. So they're getting the spreadsheet app, that range, and then they're going to get the values from that range. So the range is E4, so they're just getting that value. And then what they also have here is if it is larger than 35, then go ahead and send that email over. I actually replaced their sample 咩with demo@bootstrapping.tools just so that we can use that in testing later on. And then also what they're doing then is they're setting up the message and the subject, and then sending that email out via the Mail app library that Google Apps Scripts gives you. So there's a couple of things that OP wants us to do. So let's actually write these down here. We'll actually just write them down as comments. So number one, they want us to make it so that doesn't care. Doesn't care about 35 higher or lower. And then also wants to trigger the email whenever it changes. Or actually, let's make this clear, whenever E4 changes. And then wants to compare E4 to previous value and only send email if it is different. Okay, so that's our requirements here. That's a parameter. So what we're going to do here is actually we're going to try to clean up the code while we're at it. Might as well kind of help the poster out here, make their code a little bit cleaner, a little bit more segregated. It's just best practices to have separation of concerns. So we're actually going to pull out the email part over here out into its own function, and then we're also going to do the on edit trigger as a separate function just so that we can reuse some of our code. I actually don't exactly know how I'm going to do it yet, so just bear with me. Might change it up, might go one direction and change the other later on in this video. So let's do this first. Let's actually set it up so that we are saving the information in the script properties. So let's create a couple of different functions here. We're going to create one function for updating the cache. That's going to be the script properties, right? And then so over here, we're going to want to pass in the new value over here as the parameter. And then we're going to use script properties. That's a library that Google Apps Scripts provides to us, and this is like a cache system for this for the script itself. And then we're going to set the property over here, so we can call this month sales amount, and then we're going to just pass in the new value over there. And that's basically it for that function. And then let's take this, copy that down, and then instead of doing update cache, we're going to get cache. Let's actually say, instead of get cache, let's say get previous. Yeah, let's get the previous month sales amount. And then we actually don't need to pass in any parameters there. And instead of set property, we're going to say get property. And then we're going to do the same thing, that same value from before. So we're going to just get that. And we're going to set this to return so that we can actually see that information. So now what we're going to do is let's take this and let's pass that through up here so that we can get the previous value. And then let's say previous month sales equals that. And we're going to do console.log. And we're going to say prev month sales colon that. And then now we're going to also do update cache. We're going to do that down there, so it's the last thing that actually happens. And we're going to update that to the month sales value. So before we actually run anything, let's just make sure that we're that we actually have that cache involved. Otherwise, we're going to get that property and it's going to throw us an error. So first things first, let's just write a quick function here that we'll just delete right after, and it says set cache. We don't need to do any of that stuff. We can actually copy this down. And then we're going to set, oh, I actually put that value in. Put that value in here. Okay. So we're going to set this value. Let's just say it's 35 for now. So set cache, set property. We're going to run this real quick. Let's save it. And then we're going to run the set cache. It's going to run, execution completed. And now we don't care about this function anymore, so we can go ahead and just delete that because we don't care. And now let's actually clear this out because I don't want to send any emails at the moment. We're just going to run this check sales function as is. So what it's going to do is going to go into the sheet. It's going to grab the information out of E4, and then we're going to grab the cached value from the script properties. Then we're going to display that previous value, and then we're going to update according to the latest one. So before we actually run this, let's also do a console log over here, and let's just say current month sales. That way we can compare the two. So when we run this, we're going to get one console log that says current, and then one console log that says previous, and then we're going to update that, and we can run it again. We should see the changes. So I think I set it to 35 before. What are we at now? It's at 35. Let's set this at 36 just to make sure that we can see that it's different. So we'll hit run. So 36, now 35. And then if we run this again, we should expect both of those numbers to say 36. 36, perfect. All right, so now we have the script properties in place. What we want to do is we want to do an if statement. So what we're going to do is we're going to uncomment this out. We can actually use this. And since OP doesn't care if it's higher or lower than 35, you can actually replace this over here. So we're going to say if month sales does not equal, so the exclamation mark equal sign does not equal previous month's sales, then we're going to send the email. And actually, I don't want to send the email just yet, so let's comment that out. And then we'll just do a simple console log over here to indicate whether or not we're sending an email, and we'll say we sent the email with this message, and then let's just put in the message over here so we can have some nice verbose logging here. And then if it didn't, so if this is actually false, let's just say console log out here. There is no message, so we'll remove this part, and we'll just say we did not send any emails. Okay, and each time we're going to update the monthly sales. just to make sure that it's always there. So let's run this. And we should say we did not send any emails because there's 36 and 36. Let's go over here. Let's change this. Now it's 45. So we should expect that it's going to send the email, or rather it's just going to display this this logging message that says we sent the email with that message, which should be your balance is 45 USD. So we run this. Perfect. Exactly what we wanted to do. All right. So now we've basically cleared out. So we've done this, and then we've done this. Now what we want to do is we want to do the triggering. And triggering is the tricky part. So let's before we do that, let's pull out the email function. Let's say function send email, and then we're going to pass through the same information: email, address, subject, and message. I'm going to pull that out, and then we're going to take this line of code. I'm going to place it in here. Right, that's all we're going to do. I know the functions seem like super small, but it's best practice to have separation of concerns. You'll thank me later once you begin to code more and more and more, and then you have to go back and edit the code, and you have to like untangle all of it. It's much better like this, trust me. So once we have that done, we can actually remove this, and what we're going to do is we're going to say send email. Do that. And instead of saying subject, we can actually just take this. So the message is going to be that. And then alert is the subject. Pass that through. And get rid of all of this. And then the email address as well. Take this, place it in here. And now we have a lot less code to manage. We can leave that statement over there. Okay, so we have this. We can actually take this out, put it in here, and we'll have that. Then we can leave this in here. So sales, we do the comparison. We can leave the comparison in there. I think that's fine. No, I think that's fine. So we can do that. We can leave this over here as well. Okay, so more legibility, sales, that's good. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to do the trigger. So we're going to do a function up here. We're going to do function on edit. So this is actually a simple trigger. So whenever something changes, it's going to check whether or not that something should get executed or not. So it's going to try to execute this. So we're going to pass through E. So on edit, these triggers pass through an event. So within the payload, people use E. You can use anything you want. You can say actually the full thing event, but we'll just do E for ease. And then what you want to do here is var source equals e.source, because that's going to give us some of the information on what was being edited. And then you can also get a range out of there. So e.range. So whenever it edits, what we want to do is we want to actually run the information through. So since this is actually always going to be the case that we're checking E3, I guess we don't actually need the range or anything like that, or actually the source in that case. So we can just actually clear that all out and just say check sales. We can just run the check sales function. That's basically all we need to do. So I think that's good. So we're going to take a look at the executions here. So we've had a lot of executions. And what we'll do here is once I edit this, let's say 34. This runs the on edit trigger and then it fails. So we'll take a look to see exactly what happened. Okay, so we actually need to have permissions to be run here. Okay, so we just need to update our scope, so we have to refresh some of this. I forgot, how do we do this? Do I have to save it? No, I think I had to try to run it from here. So let's import this. And then try to run it from application. It should ask me to, it did not ask me to re-authenticate. Does that mean you're okay? So you complete it. Okay, so that worked. That's what we wanted it to do. Let's try to do the simple trigger again. I wonder what happened. 57. Running. It's running. Are you gonna fail on me? Now let's refresh this real quick. It might fail. Do not have permission. Okay, so this is like a scoping problem. Usually the pop-up will appear and then you have to do your authentication and everything like that. To get around this, super easy. We're just gonna add the trigger directly. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna run the on edit from the spreadsheet whenever the spreadsheet gets edited. So we're gonna save that. And now when we do it, hopefully this should just ask us like for the permissions. So that, before this runs, she might run both. Okay, so now completed, which is good. So we can actually take a look at this. We did not send any emails because it was the same. And this one, 3434. Cool. And if we get rid of this, let's delete the trigger because we don't need both of those triggers. Let's change this to 36. And we'll take a look at the executions. And, oh, I failed. Because permissions? Probably because of permissions. Yeah. Okay, so let's add the trigger back in, and then we're actually going to change the name of this so that we can trigger it. So let's go back over here. So we're going to call this trigger email on edit. And we're going to save that, and then we're going to set the trigger over here. Add a trigger, trigger email on edit, head from spreadsheet on edit. And we save this. So it's just two different types of triggers. You have the simple triggers, which has a lot of rules to it, and then you have installable triggers, which is this one, where you actually create a separate trigger for it. I think OP also said that he has an hourly runner as well, and that will work just the same way. So come back here. Let's say we edit 45. Now the executions, it's running. Refresh the stats here. And it's completed. And we sent the email, balance is 45 USDs. Look in here, we have a lot of emails actually. So this is the last one is 45 USDs, exactly what we wanted. And then if we change this, if we do some random edit over here, age something, it's also going to trigger the run again. And that was this guy, I think. Yeah, so previous one was 45, the current one is 45. We did not send any emails. Same thing, if we change this to 45, delete this, that's actually going to run it a couple of times. So we have this over here, and it's 45. Refresh it, it's actually still running. Still 45. No need to do anything. We did not send any emails. But that's basically how you would do it. So just to quickly kind of recap on everything that we did here, what we did was we changed it up so that we would use the script properties to set the property of the month sales amount, and then also get the property for month sales amount. So whenever we would begin, we get it from the sheet, and then we also get it from the script properties, and then we compare those two to see if there are any changes. If they're not equal to each other, then we send the email out, and then we do, that same thing that we expect. If it's not, then we don't do anything at all, and we just proceed with the script, where at the end of the script, we just update the cache with the amount that we pulled from the sheet, so that the script properties is always up to date. So if OP were to run this on a hourly basis, right? They created a trigger that would run this same thing, or actually run the check sales on an hourly basis, time driven hourly. It would do the same checks. It would check the script properties and also the sheet, compare those two values to see if there are any differences in them. If there are differences, it would send the email. If there are no differences, it would not send the email. And that, my friends, covers the last part over here, and we're done. But if you are trying to do this on your own and you run into any issues, feel free to make a comment in the section below. We're always happy to help. This is community support, so we're here to support you. So if you have any issues with trying to get this done or something similar, just drop a comment. Always happy to look at anything that you guys have, and we'll maybe make a video just to address one of the problems or hurdles that you're facing. And of course, if you like the video, make sure to hit that like button. That's the best way to support the channel and help our videos show up higher in the ranks so that other scrappy bootstrappers and entrepreneurs just like yourself can find these videos and learn from them just like you did. Of course, we have many different videos coming out, not just community support, but also for different applications and walkthroughs that we have on the YouTube channel. So make sure to check those out. And then also, of course, hit the bell and hit the subscribe button so that you get notified of when we have the next videos coming out on any applications that we're going to be talking about or more community support videos. But I'm a guy called Joe. This is Bootstrapping Tools Community Support. Today has been a lot of fun, and we look forward to the next one. But that's it, and we're out.